What is up, fellas? Old timers and stuff. I just got back from fishing with my dad. To give a bit of context, right, and everything. If you folks do know or don't know, whichever the case, I literally just got back from fishing with my dad. Like, as of the making of this video here, we like legit been an hour since we just came back and everything. So I went fishing with my dad, and this one in particular was a little bit different here. I don't think I've told you folks before, or I may have a little bit, but I went fishing before with my dad. Interestingly enough, because it all started right years and years ago when I was like a little kid, when I was Bambi's age, right, when I was like 9 or 10 years old, whatever. We went up to my grandparents' cabin, my dad's, parents, cabin, whatever, because they have a lake there. And I remembered my grandpa, he showed me, how to fish and everything, along with my dad and everything. And that was, an alright experience. I remember being upset because I caught a little guy. He was just like a little baby fish, whatever, that we had to, let him go, which I can kind of see now, let it evolve, let it grow up and shit. So I caught a little guy. I was a little unhappy with that, but I was able to drive the boat, which was, honestly cool. Was able to drive my grandpa's boat, so that was kind of cool. And whatnot. But anyway, fast forward over to like 10 years ago, because I'm 26 now. So fast forward to when I was 15, 16. Actually, I went deep sea fishing with my dad. And honestly, because because you get up, not just early, but we had to do it extra early because it was like, an hour and a half away. So we had to get up early, make sure we were ready earlier, and go all the way out there and everything. And we're not just like by the shore or whatever or some shit with deep sea fishing. No, we would freaking go way out there. We're talking like an hour and a half, 2 hours of sailing. Like we would go way freaking out there, to a deep sea fish. And I did halibut, I did salmon, and I did crab. Those two were the main things, was halibut and salmon. And I personally, I don't really care much for sea. Why is my camera acting all goofed up? I don't know, that was weird. The clock's still ticking, I guess, going forward, so whatever. I don't know what the hell that was, but anyway, so long story short, I did go deep sea fishing with my dad, and but this time around, instead of deep sea fishing, we did okay, I guess the camera may work now or something. I don't know. My camera keeps freezing on me. It's really annoying on me. But anyway, I don't know what the hell's going on. But back to what I'm trying to say, before my video keeps freezing up. Interestingly enough, I was curious to do, river fishing because we've never done it before. Like I said before, I did, lake fishing, as I kind of call it, with my, grandpa and dad and brothers and whatnot. And I was kind of, all right. Then we did deep sea fishing, which is like hardcore, and I didn't really care much for it personally, because we went on a group and stuff, and we each had our own lines, whatever. But anyway, so we did deep sea fishing, and honestly, this was an overall alright experience. We just went for 2 days, We went up there for 2 days, to go deep sea fishing, not deep sea fishing, river fishing, excuse me. And the first day, right, the first day there, we didn't catch anything. But both days we didn't catch anything, So the first day, we went there, we went with someone. We went on his boat. His dog was with us. She was a nice girl and everything. So we, went up there and everything, and there was like, nothing. Just absolutely nothing. I think my dad, he got like one bite, because of the fishing rod, can't just, da da da. Has to really pull down, to indicate that we have a fish on, because that's what I learned in doing deep sea fishing. You watch the poles, and if the pole yanks down, like it pushes down like that. You yell, Vishon, as you quickly get up. And of course, I don't know if you folks know or whatever, but like you have to be quick on it. Your ass needs to be right on that ride, because every second counts. And it's always a tricky thing for me because first you have to unhook or rather take the pole off of, the safety guard thing or whatever. So you can't just like grab and reel. You have to grab it, you know, pull it to, unlock it. Then you start, reeling in whatever. And I guess supposedly you could just like, hold it, whatever, like old fashioned style, but then your arm's gonna get, tired holding it. Plus the sudden yank and everything or two. But anyway, so my dad, we got just one bite. He got just one bite, one pull, and that was like it, nothing. So it's like, okay, But yeah, it was mainly calm the first day. Honestly, really boring. Nothing, no action happened or whatever. But then the second day, and this is where things really get interesting because that's where that photo comes in that I showed you folks of that post. But that's where things start to get interesting. So, nothing happened yet again. We met up with this, girl. She was sweet, definitely an adventurer too, but she was really, nice and everything. She had a dog as well. We both got the dog folks, two dogs, two canines, I guess, of fish. So so we go up there and everything, and again, there's nothing there, nothing really going on. We got like we thought we had a pole before, but then we kind of realized, wait a second, and as we reeled in, because we had we both had two poles on either side. My dad had his side where it was the front, and then off to the side, and I had the same thing. So we would get a double chance, and everything. So his side or my side, whichever, got tangled up into. So as we're reeling it in, we're thinking we either got two fish or it's one fish caught in both poles. So as we reeled it up, we got an entanglement of both wires, two hooks. They're like, wrapped around each other like a freaking bow, so she had to, untie the lines and all that shit. We did have some some rocking here and there. At least it's not like that. Unlike freaking and deep sea fishing, where there's some calm moments, but mostly it's just huge rocking, and not just like the little ones like it was in here. It was just like a little rock, and it's like, okay, a little fun. But no, in deep sea, it was like freaking, because like I said, we'll freaking way out there and shit. So anyway, long story short, nothing was really happening. We kept going from, point to point, like just every chance we could get, whatever. And so finally, I look over, right? And I had the on this time, because the day before I just had the rope would pull, and there wouldn't be the ticking, the wrenching ticking, whatever as I kind of call it. So suddenly I hear this zzz, the indicator, not just the shown but the sound indicator that there's a fish on. So I quickly, grabbed it, and it had to be on this side. It couldn't be the front, so it was easier. I had to quickly turn over, and it's always tricky too, because the fish is on it, and she's like, real, real, and I'm trying my best to, just get the pole and pull it up so I could have it because that way I have more movement. And since I'm not, like the strongest or some shit, I was just solely focusing on quickly unhooking it, unlocking it, pulling up so that way, because like I said, you have to be on your ass with it. You have to be on the damn dog with it, and you can't really rest. And it's kind of funny too, because it's like things get boring, okay, nothing, and then all of a sudden you just start hearing that, or you look over and it's like adrenaline just kicks sky high, like it's freaking 0 to 100 and like that, so as I'm fighting this, right, this was a tough fighter too, because kept pulling back, whatever. And the lady there, well, captain, she's like, Wimble, if it's too much, let go, and understandable. Like, you can't just keep fighting, or if it's too hard or too rough, just let it be, let it go. But I was like, hell no, I'm not letting it go. After nothing for like, in a day and a half, I freaking fought this guy. I was like, I'm not gonna let it go. And whether it's a keeper or not, or a wild, I'm gonna at least get a picture, or at least we're gonna freaking see, one way or another, whether it's a keeper and we can actually keep it, or it's a wild and I just take a picture, because you can't keep the wilds. And that's the thing too. If you look in the photo, the fin or whatever that it has over by its upper tail, if that thing is clipped and gone, then it's basically a keeper. We can keep it, we can skin it, we can do whatever. That's our catch. But if it has the fin on it, like what that one unfortunately had, then it's a wild. Because you can't just get whatever. It's like kind of like with hunting in a sense, where you can't just see a deer and shoot it. You gotta make sure it's a specific one, because of like if it's a buck, then okay, we can have it. But if it's a doe, then we can't keep it, because of, repopulation and stuff and everything and, basic, biology shit, sex shit, kind of how the game works in a sense. Same thing with crab too, you have to make sure it's a male, it can't be a female, because females help repopulate or specific ones or whatever, so you can't just get whatever and go with it. It needs to specifically be a correct one. So unfortunately, that was a wild, so I couldn't keep it, But you know what? I at least I got a damn photograph. So like I said, I was fighting this, and my first damn mistake was having to go all the way up to the surface because it saw that freaking boat, and got scared. And she's all, just let it go, let it go, let it be, swim over. Okay, now reel it back in. And, and I kept fighting this guy. So finally, we eventually get it up though. And I'm still so happy with it. It would have been nicer, yeah, to get it as a keeper and to have it be a keeper. But goddamn what? That photograph is a freaking, that's a freaking highlight of this year. A highlight of 2025. That right there is a freaking Steam achievement. A video game real life Steve achievement, because I'm just happy I got a picture, something to remember by and everything, and it was just, oh man, I don't know. I'm still pretty happy with it, honestly. Like, and it's something that I did too, and and she was, like I said, she was like, if it's too much or whatever, you can let it go, because you can't just strain yourself out. But I was like, no, I'm not letting this sucker go. We've had at least nothing for, yesterday and today. Fuck no, I'm not gonna let this guy go, So I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and I got him. Well, not executed, but like we got him. I even did the classical kiss. Gotta give official love too. And I had to throw him back out. But yeah, the fact alone that that I did that and everything is just, oh man, I just could not be any more goddamn happier, folks. And me and my dad, we stayed at this small cute little town, up in Idaho. I was kind of unsure of it at first, personally. I kind of felt like sort of an outcast there, honestly. But you know what? We kind of stuck around with it. The first night we arrived there, we went to this one cafe place, base camp or whatever, and honestly, that that was not the greatest food. My dad, he got a French dip, because he loves French dips, and I got a Belgian waffle. It's like 5 o'clock. Whatever, and I got myself a Belgian waffle because I freaking love waffles. I love waffles as much as Rocky love from Lackadaisy loves pancakes. I freaking love waffles. I cannot get enough of goddamn waffles. So I got myself a Belgian waffle, and it came out and it tasted undercooked or microwave nuked. I don't know. I didn't really like it. The scrambled eggs were, partially burnt in some parts. So I just cut those away and just ate what was cooked. The only thing that wasn't, a screw up was the bacon that I got, which I don't know how you can screw up bacon, honestly. It's like one of the easiest meats to legit have, other than sausage, whatever. Like, it's one of the easiest, in every way, and stuff. So I ate my bacon strips. And I asked for a soda, because the sign out there said soda, we have Pepsi, so I asked for a Pepsi. They gave me a soda can. And so I'm like, okay, can I get a straw? Because I can't really drink out of the soda cans. And waitress there, she was nice enough, but I could tell she was kind of in that little, bitchy kind of attitude. I don't like hold it against her or anything, because I personally kind of get that way myself at times, especially at work when it's a busy day. I just want to clock out, go home, and take a knee, for the rest of the day, But she was nice enough, and it was a little loud, but yeah, it was underwhelming. I only had like half my waffle before it's like, you know what, I'm good, I'm freaking good. And that night, that later that night, yeah, I was like, oh shit, I was starting to get like a tummy ache, a headache, and stuff. I was like, oh fuck, like don't tell me I'm gonna get sick or some shit right before like the deadline here. Like, no, don't tell me this, whatever kind of deal. But so first we tried going to a this bar that we ended up going to later. So we went to this bar and we waited for like the salon here, Red Dead Redemption style. So we walk in though and we waited for 5 7 minutes, nothing was happening. So we go, so then, we were like, okay, whatever. So we tried this other place, which was what I just told you folks before, and that ended up not working now. So my dad's like, oh, you want me to get you something at the gas station or whatever? And I was like, no, no. Like, I'm good at this point. I just want to lay down and shit. So we end up going back to the salon, and honestly, their burgers, man, they were freaking aces. They were like some of them. That was probably one of the best burgers I've freaking had. And I don't go to bars that much because, A, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't care that much for, beer or whiskey or wine. I don't really care much for any of that shit. Like, I can't even really stand it, honestly. But there's really nowhere else to really go. The hotel we stayed at was honestly quite nice. We had a decent breakfast every morning, which was great. And we also got cookies at night, It was overall nice and everything. The only thing that grinds my gears at that hotel place now is that there's no T-Mobile at the hotel. They do well at the town, whatever. There's no T-Mobile at the hotel itself. The Wi-Fi, they only had the Wi-Fi, so I was only able to really, connect and browse whatever at the hotel room. But like outside, the hotel and within the town, there would be no service. And apparently, the town has a Verizon tower and AT&T tower, but no freaking T-Mobile. And T-Mobile's like freaking everywhere. So like that was honestly a bit discouraging, because it's like, out of the freaking, you know, mobile phone services, you happen to have the one that, you don't have, that me and my family have, you know. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with my camera. Why are we blurry? Okay, there we go. But yeah, overall, I'd say I had a grand time. It was, it was a pretty decent and fun time. I met up with me and my, I met up with my dad's, his buddies and everything. They're two goofy goobers. I don't know how my dad does it. I I really don't, but oh man, they were entertaining folks and everything. They were like even jealous that we went with the girl captain, whatever, you know. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. But yeah, I overall had a grand time there. And, it's something I'm overall happy with. I was really unsure at first, because I was like, okay, okay, cool, whatever. And especially on the first day of fishing that we had, because I was like thinking like, like, man, if I don't get like, and it's not really about like catching, it was just more so on, hanging out with my dad. But it was like, like, man, if I don't get something, it's gonna be pretty discouraged. It's like I came in really for nothing. That's like going over to a pizzeria place and not having pizza. It's like a bank robber robbing a bank. He's got the gloves, he's got the mask, he's got the don't actually do it, but like what I mean. He's got like the gloves, the mask, the bag, and everything. The heist is all set and everything, and we don't go for the vote. We don't go for the money. We just yell at everyone with our guns, get down, get down. We tie the sieves, we shoot the security guards, we shoot the cops, and we don't go for the money. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to get at here is that it's like the main prize, in a sense, kind of like that. And even though we didn't, even though I wasn't able to keep anything, even though it was mainly, boring with nothing really action or whatever, it was overall nice. The weather was at least nice, and I got to know the two captains, on both days that were there. I got to know each of the captains and everything that were with us. It was an overall, nice experience. I overall had, a great time. And I've been meaning to do something like with my dad for a good minute now. And finally something that's not just a two-man job, of like helping him with this or that, because he sees that as time as well, but I just see that more as like, work in a sense. Like I'm working at my grocery store. He's working at his job. That's more of like, a two-man job needing something. But to actually, quote, play, and to hang out and everything, it was definitely nice. But yeah, overall, it was a pretty great experience. So now that I'm finally back, folks, you know what all of that means? It means it's time to get back to some more content, ladies and gentlemen, and trans and non-binaries. We're gonna come back with some AU, some more horror content, some more gaming and stuff, and of course, finally finish up on my dementia project, my dementia music review, stage one. I have some I have some big plans for stage two and three and everything. Actually, holy shit, I'm halfway done with Act 1 now. With all the leaps of every decay, Act 1. That's kind of daunting, honestly. Wow. Yeah, it's not, stage 1 isn't fully complete, but I would say it's like 90% complete. Because all I need to do now is just listen in on all of the songs, similar to like a chef when it's like a taste test to be like, let's see how the soup tastes or how da 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 tastes, to make sure it's, grand and delicious and shit before actually serving it out to, the customer who ordered it. That's what I kind of see in this sense and where I'm kind of at. Like, everything's mainly good. I just need to give it a listen, a taste per se, to make sure it's fit in the way that I feel or that I want and everything. And once all that's done, then I just slap it all in one, big video and freaking premiere it and shit. I hope you folks are excited, because I've been pretty proud of it so far. But yeah, that's basically it for this video here and everything. Sorry I just rambled on and talked and everything, but yeah, I'm just overall happy that I did it. Again, it would have been nice to at least caught something, not caught it, but actually keep it. But you know what? The fact alone that I was able to, get a picture of it and everything, that's straight up my year so far and everything, something to remember by. It was definitely something great, and honestly, it's something I think I might do again. It was definitely a lot more mellow and everything and more subtle compared to deep sea fishing where I just go, me and my dad, we would go with a group. It would be like me, my dad, and freaking six, seven other folks, and then the first mate and the captain, and that was kind of a little bit, a little bit overwhelming and everything. Honestly, was gonna try to get some still heads, but you know what? At least I caught one and got a picture of it. That's all that matters in my book at the end of the day, and overall having a good time. Yes, it would have been nice again to keep it, but you know what? You gotta make do with what you have. And I fought that sucker and I was not gonna let it go. And we executed perfectly, folks. We ladies and gentlemen, we goddamn got him. That freaking I don't know, FBI agent or government agent, whatever. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, we got we got the picture, folks. We goddamn did it. But yeah, that's enough for this video here and enough of my chit chat and whatever, because I don't want to run my voice dry. But yeah, I overall had a grandiose of a time, folks. So I'm probably not going to be back until at least Monday or Tuesday at this point, because I'm just going to relax for the rest of the weekend and everything. Get my job done and shit. Make sure I have everything. At least I hope so. It's always a little nerve wracking coming back, because it's like, wait, do I have all my shit still? But yeah, that's basically it for this video here, folks. So, with all that being said and out of the way, thank you folks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you folks don't miss out on a future video or post I make in the future. And that you can always be kept up to date with the channel here and everything. And lastly, if you have any requests or suggestions that you want me to go ahead and do, feel free to tell me down in the comments below. But anyway, folks, that's basically it as of now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all sooner or later. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and hit subscribe for more. I don't know if I said that already or not, but yeah. I'm a bit hyped. I'm a bit excited. I'm a bit stoked because of that. But anyway, see you folks around. Bye-bye.